This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
We'll take this offer now to the Russians, and we hope that they'll say yes.
I have a handy-dandy chart. If you look at Canada, American cheese and butter, nearly 300% tariff.
You want mommy to go to jail?
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Good afternoon and welcome to the broadcast. I'm Family Life News anchor Sarah Harnish. Breakthrough with Ukraine. The European country said today after a multi-hour meeting, it is open to a 30-day ceasefire in the war with Russia. Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
The president's objective here is, number one, above everything else, he wants the war to end. And I think today Ukraine has taken a concrete step in that regard.
The next step?
We'll take this offer now to the Russians. And we hope that they'll say yes, to peace. The ball is now in their court.
Things not going quite as well with our neighbor to the north, Canada. We slapped tariffs on them. That was after they hit us with a 25% tariff on electricity to states like New York yesterday. Then today, Donald Trump doubled our tariff to 50%. It's got Wall Street in a tizzy all over again. PNC economist Gus Fauché.
The concern is that who knows where this is going to stop.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says it'll stop when the playing field is fair.
It is egregious. In fact, I have a handy-dandy chart that shows the rate of tariffs across the board. If you look at Canada, American cheese and butter, nearly 300% tariff. 100% tariff on agricultural products from India. Look at Japan, tariffing rice, 700%. President Trump believes in reciprocity.
Leavitt says the stock market will level out, but there's no rescue coming for American businesses or employees without reciprocal fair tariffs.
It is about dang time that we have a president who actually looks out for the interests of American businesses and workers. All he's asking for are fair and balanced trade practices, and unfortunately, Canada has not been treating us very fairly at all.
A court hearing is set for tomorrow for activist Khalil Mahmoud, the mastermind of the pro-Palestinian protests on Columbia University's campus. A judge just blocked his deportation today. Mahmoud's legal team calling him a scapegoat.
He was chosen as an example to stifle entirely lawful dissent in violation of the First Amendment.
House Speaker Mike Johnson got fired up about the arrest today, saying nothing about this case points to free speech. Johnson says Mahmoud was using the protest to hand out pro-Hamas flyers. Hamas is a designated terror organization known to have taken the lives of American soldiers.
I appreciate free speech. I used to defend it in courts, but this is far beyond the pale of that. When you are threatening your classmates and spewing anti-Semitism and all this hatred, it's enough.
Binghamton University is under investigation by the U.S. Department of Education for allegedly discriminating against Jewish students. BU among 60 schools being probed for anti-Semitic discrimination and harassment. Yesterday, the Trump administration sent letters to those universities warning of funding cuts if they don't do more to protect Jewish students on campus. Cornell and Lehigh Valley are other schools who got that letter. Southwest Airlines pulled a 180 today, deviating from being the low-cost airline for decades. For the first time in its 54-year history, the company will now impose a bag fee starting in May, courtesy of Southwest stockholders.
That adds to your ticket. It's already enough that our prices of airfares almost doubled.
I don't like it across the board, but I think it's necessary. I get it for the airlines to be profitable.
Industry analyst Henry Hardevelt says it's a bad move.
I think that Southwest is feeling pressure from its board and one of its largest shareholders to make money and make money fast.
The clock is ticking for lawmakers to agree on a spending bill to keep the government open. The House may vote later today. Virginia Congressman Ben Cline is confident they can do it.
This CR will keep the government running, enable President Trump to implement his agenda. We need to break the stranglehold that the swamp has on the D.C. bureaucracy, strengthen the border, provide for energy independence, get the woke out of the Pentagon. done. I think it's going to pass today.
Uncle Sam runs out of money on Friday, and a Christian legal firm has its eye on a law out of Scotland that bans prayer in abortion buffer zones. The trouble is the zones are so wide, it includes prayers said inside your own house if they can be seen from the window and are inside that zone. This clip was taken from a Q&A with the government there.
We are not banning prayer. If you're standing at a window with your hands together in front of your face in that classic image of prayer, if you're standing at a window so people can see you, then could it be interpreted as an offence?
That then depends on who's passing the window and whether anybody
so he's not
can
wrong, is he, J.D. Vance?
No,
he's not wrong.
He is wrong.
The Christian rights group ADF International called Scotland's buffer zones fundamentally flawed, putting police in a position to judge the genuineness of someone's faith based on where they're standing when they pray. Still to come on the 5 o'clock report, more striking at Empire State prisons. Beaver Stadium is Beaver Stadium no more, and a push to make daylight saving time permanent in New York State. Those stories after weather with Kevin Williams.
Our call for tonight, a spot shower early in central New York. Otherwise, skies on it partly cloudy. It'll turn much colder than last night. Low temps 20s and low 30s. Tomorrow, some morning sunshine and clouding up, a chillier day. High temperatures range from the 30s close to Lake Ontario to the 50s in Pennsylvania, south of I-80. Tomorrow night, cloudy, a little bit of light snow rain mix across western and central New York. Then on Thursday, a morning cloud cover breaks with some sun with high temperatures in the mid-40s to the middle 50s.
Thank you, Kevin. Checking the stories, making news where you live across New York and Pennsylvania. Is it really over? The New York State Department of Corrections claims the 3-week-old prison guard strike is done, but several guards remained on the picket line today, including this guard, Rudy Pavlin.
The officers here feel like the union sold them out. There was total distrust.
Last night, State Corrections Commissioner Daniel Marticello promised to hire more workers and declared an end to the 22-day strike.
It is time to turn the page. We'll start with a high-energy recruitment campaign.
Cornell University professor Lee Adler says prison guards deserve a lot of credit for the amount of courage they showed during the 3-week standoff.
For wildcatting strike, for calling out the National Guard, for embarrassing the governor, for embarrassing docs, for embarrassing their union, that tells us how unbelievably critical prisons are. 2,000
guards who failed to show up for work yesterday were fired. It's not Beaver Stadium anymore. Penn State just renamed its home field. This trustee was a no vote.
What's happening now may look like a successful move, but I don't believe it's a very honorable one. And success without honor is an unseasoned dish. It will satisfy your hunger, but it won't taste very good.
It's now called West Shore Home Field at Beaver Stadium after the home improvement company acquired naming rights to the iconic athletic facility. Some Erie, Pennsylvania nuns led a group of neighbors last night in a vigil aimed at reclaiming an area that was the scene of deadly violence. A January shooting claimed the life of 21-year-old Canyon McGarvey of Erie during an alleged drug deal gone bad. Jacqueline Sanchez Small with the Benedictine Sisters of Erie tells Jet TV.
It's also important just to keep remembering that this kind of violence is not the normal state of affairs. So it really requires us to gather in prayer and to try to turn our hearts to God and change the acceptance of violence.
Garvey's shooting was Erie's second homicide in 2025. A new study shows New York is the second most expensive state to start a business in. An unprecedented 25.5 million Americans have started their own business the past 5 years. 20% will fail within the first year. Only in California is it more expensive than New York to start your own business. And New York State Senator Joseph Grippo tells WBNG it's time to make daylight saving time permanent in the Empire State.
It only captivates people's attention during the periods where we have to actually do it. There's overwhelming consensus right now, and it's evident by recent Gallup polls that the American citizen and the residents of our district don't like the changes twice a year.
Grippo says beyond the body clock disruption, it is a safety issue. He cites stats that show longer periods of daylight reduce car crashes, lower energy costs, and can can even impact crime rates. Next at 5, our feature Hometown Heroes, spotlighting the people making a difference in New York and Pennsylvania. A Christian ministry in upstate New York uses basketball as an outreach to address the high rate of fatherless homes in Rochester. Mike Hennessy with Youth for Christ spoke with our own Mark Webster. Let's listen in.
Homelessness, poverty, drug addiction, incarceration, domestic violence, any really chronic culture problem we face, you go back far enough and you find 75 to 90% of the time it's a fatherless home. So we started the Fatherhood Initiative. Now we have 4 to half a dozen men every Friday night in our gym that gives us the opportunity to create a safe sanctuary for these boys playing basketball and also a Christ-like culture. It's hard to have a Christ-like culture and safe sanctuary when it's one coach on 30 kids. But when you have a half a dozen men in here all working together to bring encouragement and recognition to these young men and to become a part of their lives. And so it's had a huge impact on our basketball program. It's not just a basketball program now, it's a mentoring program where you play basketball.
Well, basketball is a team sport, and so I guess in this case is modeling, what a father's supposed to be like.
It's amazing, Mark. We've had several different moms call Coach Felix and just to tell them that, my son was going the wrong way. He was making bad decisions. We were seeing all kinds of red flags. But since they began going to your program and you began mentoring our son, he's completely turned it around. There's not going to be any foul language. You're not going to argue with the ref. There's no phone use during the time you're here. When you've got violence going on in Rochester like we had 1 year where 60 kids under 18 were shot in 1 year. And the following year, we had 60 kids under 18 who stole a car. These kids don't feel safe in their neighborhoods or the rec centers. There was 5 shootings at 3 of the city rec centers in 1 year. We created the Safe Sanctuary alongside men who encourage the young men and give them recognition. That kid's literally dying on the street from lack of recognition he didn't get from a dad who didn't stay. So we say to guys coming in, don't overthink it. Give a young man encouragement. Give him the recognition he's craving for. Be authentic and be consistent.
That's Mark Hennessy with Youth for Christ. You can subscribe, listen to, and share Hometown Heroes and all of Family Life's original podcasts at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or at familylife.org. Time next for tonight's market report brought to you by Faithward Advisors. Stocks are closing lower after another volatile day on Wall Street. At the final bell, the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 478 points to 41,433. The S&P 500 lost 42 points to 55,72, and the Nasdaq fell 32 points to 17,436. Faithward Advisors is a Christian financial planning firm online at faithwardadvisors.com.
A significant financial risk in early retirement is called sequence of returns risk. Hi, I'm Rob West with the Faith and Finance Minute. That may sound like unimportant accounting stuff, but it's critical to retirees. This risk involves the stock market having a protracted downturn right around the time someone retires, causing their retirement money to shrink significantly. There are ways to guard against sequence of returns risk if you plan ahead. Here are 2. First, before retiring, build a cash reserve in an account, such as a money market account. That's not subject to the ups and downs of the stock market. Second, plan well enough that you can be flexible with your spending. That will allow you to cut back on your expenditures until the market recovers. Connect with a certified Kingdom advisor who's been trained to deliver financial advice that aligns with your Christian values by visiting our website, faithfi.com.
Coming up on the 5 o'clock report, the 4-year-old who called 911 after his mom ate his ice cream.
Did you call the police?
Yeah.
Why?
I told my mommy to go to jail.
Why do you want mommy to go to jail?
More on that story coming up after weather with Kevin Williams.
After a couple of very mild early spring-like days, the next 36 hours will be much more like winter, much chillier. But as we head toward the end of the week, temperatures are on the up and up once again. After an isolated evening rain shower, it'll turn out partly cloudy tonight and become much colder than it was last night. The breezes subside, low temps 20s and low 30s. Tomorrow, the morning sun and clouding up, chillier than recent days with highs from the 30s near Lake Ontario to the 50s south of I-80 in Pennsylvania. Late in the day into the night, there'll be a touch of light snow and rain in parts of western and central New York. Then on Thursday, morning cloud cover, turning out partly sunny. High temperatures mid-40s to the middle 50s.
All right, Kevin, finally at 5, youngsters sometimes have trouble deciding what does and doesn't constitute an emergency. Here's Family Life's Mark Webster with a story.
Yeah, case in point, a 4-year-old Wisconsin tot who called 911 to report a crime. The offense? His mom was being bad because she ate his ice cream. His mom says the cops came calling on the cold case.
They came and they kind of spoke to him and they explained to him, we love you and we're here for you to help you, but we can't, come just because you want ice cream, buddy. And he was like, okay, I understand.
I mean, this is probably one of the best calls we'll have for our whole entire career.
Mom maintains her innocence, saying she didn't even eat his ice cream, but the very pleasant Mount Pleasant Police Department brought the youngster some anyway with a side dish of advice on when to use 911. Mark Webster, Family Life News.
And that's the world that we live in for Tuesday, the 11th of March. I'm Sarah Harnish, and this is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.